I'm here today with Sheriff Jeff Leikauf from Dorado County, a good friend of mine, and somebody who's been pretty heavily involved in Senate Bill 818 over the course of the last several months. Jeff and I just wanted to talk a little bit about Senate Bill 818 and clear up any confusion as to what took place with that bill, where it's at now, and what the future looks like when it comes to trying to protect public safety in El Dorado County, California, from the increasing threat that we're having from lions. Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. We're fighting the fight.
Senate Bill 818, as you know, authored by Senator Alvarado-Gil, who represents our county among many other rural counties in Northern California, was legislation that was introduced back in February, the intent being to authorize the use of private permitted houndsmen to pursue problem mountain lions with their hounds to do two things: push them out of areas where they're creating a nuisance and likely to get into trouble, and to install some fear in those mountain lions of dogs and people.
Hazing wildlife with hound dogs. Um, there are groups out there would like you to believe, if you don't know about this, that these dogs are running down cats and killing them, and running down bears and killing them. These dogs pursue them until the animal gets tired of running and climbs up a tree. It's important to know that for the folks to know that these animals will stay up in the tree until they're rested or they feel comfortable with coming down out of that tree. And this is long after the dog handler has showed up and gathered his dogs up and moved off into another location. So it is not the boogeyman that certain folks out there would like the general public to believe.
The bottom line was Senate Bill 818, and we tried to stress this with the Mountain Lion Foundation and the National Wildlife Federation and the myriad of animal rights groups that came out there, is that this bill would have saved the lives of mountain lions. Well, it's going to push them out of there before they get into trouble, and a lethal depredation permit has to be issued to kill them. That was the goal.
Yeah, I said it that day. After the disappointment and utter disgust coming out of that hearing, this was my opinion, and it still is my opinion, by the amendments that were made to that bill and removing the dog language out and the tree and free hazing part of that bill, removing that language out and putting the onus of the bill back on the property owners to secure their livestock better, to bring their livestock in at night. I walked out that day and I was thinking to myself, by doing that, these folks just killed more mountain lions, because what's going to happen is the human mountain lion encounters are going to continue to happen. The mountain lion domestic livestock pets are going to continue to happen, and you can defend your livestock if they're under attack from a mountain lion. We're going to continue to kill more mountain lions as a result of them removing that language, which would have pushed the mountain lions and educated them to get out of the populated areas and back into the areas that's their natural place to be.
They stripped everything out of that bill. All the language that the senator had authored into that worked with the Brooks family and on, they stripped it all out, and they put in all their own language, which focused strictly on livestock depredation. Nothing to do with public safety. They had the votes in the committee, 7-member committee, 4 votes for majority to kill our bill as we wrote it. And then they voted what they call reconsideration, which means the bill can be heard again. Well, so they brought the bill back and they voted in their language, the amendments that they wanted into it, that we had nothing to do with. It totally stripped out all the public safety provisions of the legislation. And then they passed the bill up. So that's what happened in Senate Natural Resources and Water. It was California state capitol at its worst. The other travesty was out of the members of the committee, the only Democrat that was there was the chair, Senator Lamone, and then we had Senator Shannon Grove, Republican from the Bakersfield area. They were the only two people that were there. Right? I mean, throughout all the testimony, passionate testimony, emotional testimony from Malcolm Brooks, Taylen's uncle. Senator Alvarado-Gil did an excellent job presenting the bill and the reasons for the bill. Malcolm's lead testimony was followed up by Leanne Mila, the agricultural commissioner, talking about the devastation that livestock owners in El Dorado County have been going through the last couple of years, which is absolutely shot through the roof. And then several people from the county stood up and talked in their support as well. And it all fell on deaf ears. Most of the committee wasn't even there to hear it. Yep. They were still allowed to vote and do all the terrible things that we just talked about that they did to the bill.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. It was frustrating to witness because it was a very good bill. And I've gone on record as to say this. It was a well thought out bill. It was a bill that was vetted and took quite a bit of time to put together. People were consulted the right way. There was transparency. So to sit there and watch that day, it was almost like it was scripted, and it didn't matter what we were going to say or what we're going to do. Going down there and presenting what all the facts, just the devastating livestock, domesticated animal loss that we've experienced in El Dorado County over the last couple of years. Losing Taylen and having Wyatt attacked. These are facts. And to have people that have nothing to do with El Dorado County. This wasn't a statewide bill that we were trying to pass. This was a pilot bill to try it out and see if it would work. Knowing, I'll let everybody in on a little secret, we know that this is going to work. We know that this tree and free hazing program with hounds would absolutely accomplish what we needed to accomplish in El Dorado County. And to have people that aren't even from El Dorado County make the decision on a public safety matter, a tool that we could use to better protect our community and our citizens, was disgusting to see the way they reacted to it.
Yeah, this was a case study in how not to pass legislation. This was a district bill. Senator Alvarado-Gil was simply trying to pass legislation which positively impacted the people that he represents in El Dorado County. Used to be, there was a district bill out there, a bill that only impacted your district, didn't impact anybody else's district. You were trying to do the right things for the people that elected you. You would not have any opposition. In the day, you would not have a senator from Los Angeles or somewhere else telling you what legislation should be passed that only impacts El Dorado County. Two different worlds, right? Jeff, 10 years ago, that would have never happened. It certainly happened in spades. And I'm going to give some kudos to Shannon Grove, who was up on the dais. She called out the chair on that in spades. I mean, she did the best she could possibly do as a lone voice up on the dais. Let that chair know that this bill really needs to be passed for the protection of El Dorado County.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I told you at one point, Senator Alvarado-Gil came back to talk to the Brooks family, which I was sitting right next to, and you came over and you guys all had a huddle. And this is after, like you said, Senator Grove really went after the committee chair, Lamone, to try to make her point, and that this was a good bill for El Dorado County, and that's something that they needed to pass. And it was like it fell on deaf ears. And while you guys were all having your huddle, I was looking at Senator Grove, and I'll never forget, she looked over at Lamone, and I saw her mouth, "Why are you doing this?
Right.
This makes no sense. This is so wrong." Oh, I'll never forget that. And then Senator Grove afterwards told me, she goes, this would be like, we would have no business if the golden mussel or clam was affecting all the piers in her district, that we would, and she had a resolution that was well thought out and only applied to her district, that they wanted to address this to abate this problem or to help them with this problem, that we would have a negative opinion about that and be voting against it. But that's the way the system works down in Sacramento.
Since now we're opposing the bill. The Brooks family's opposing the bill. Senator Alvarado-Gil, even though her name's still on it, is opposing the bill. I mean, we're all opposing the bill. We want it to die in appropriations. We were pretty confident it would, because all of the various things that their amendments put in the bill, like a grant program for people that want to do things on their property to help protect their livestock, they're already doing, right? It gave the Department of Fish and Wildlife a variety of things that they had to do. I mean, so it was driving the costs way up. And people that are paying attention to the California state budget right now know that we are billions of dollars in the hole. And so that hearing in Senate Appropriations was last Friday, the 23rd of May, right? And sure enough, Senate Bill 818 died. Some of the other things that came out of that hearing, and I've seen the interview a few times since then, was like Beth Pratt, the California executive director of the National Wildlife Federation. I mean, kind of it's like, well, you can't drive California policy based on just one attempt. It's like, holy smokes. I mean, one death is one death too many. But if you look at the numbers, and I have, this isn't just a one-off attack that we're panicking and trying to respond to. I mean, we've got a real serious and increasingly serious problem here in El Dorado County. Fact is that these cats are no longer afraid of people or dogs.
That's the bottom line.
And they say, well, put your animals in at night. Well, that used to work, right? I mean, because cats, mountain lions were almost entirely nocturnal. You never saw them during the day. They hunted at night. Why? Because people weren't around and dogs weren't around. So you put your livestock in at night, you're good. Doesn't happen anymore. I mean, they're killing goats in the middle of the day.
The Mountain Lion Foundation people and the people that are advocates for this, that are against the Tree and Free program, the proactive hazing. That was another thing that was absolute falsification that day. Was Senator Lamone said, we already have proactive hazing in El Dorado County with our trapper. And no, that is not proactive hazing. That is reactive hazing, because that is done at the hands after a property owner or a livestock owner or a pet owner calls the ag commissioner and goes, hey, I had a lion, I have a dead animal, or I saw a mountain lion grab my dog and jump over the fence. That is a reactionary hazing type of situation. So the stance of these other folks that are in opposition to this, they're going to continue to kill more mountain lions.
Coincidentally, true story. I was at the Capitol the day before. I was sitting there with the Brooks family. We were walking the halls. We were working the votes, right? And then county trapper was scheduled to be at the hearing on April 22nd. We wanted him there. His boss, the ag commissioner, was going to testify, but we wanted our county trapper there as well, because there are so many fallacies that the opposition was throwing out there about what does and does not happen when you're pursuing mountain lions or bears with hounds, right? I mean, they kill everything in their path. They get in fights with the cats on the ground, and the cats are killed, or the dogs. I mean, none of that happens. So if you wanted to get a legitimate, honest answer from somebody about what really happens on the ground when you're pursuing a mountain lion with trained hounds, we're going to get that from our county trapper, because he's doing it 2-3 times a week, if not 7 days a week. So we had him scheduled to be there so that he could answer questions from the dais. He'd be the only one in the room that could really have the answer to those questions. Don't care what the animal rights people want to think happens. I mean, he knows what happens because he has to do it for a living. Right? You get a text from him the night before. It was about 5 o'clock. The Brooks family and I were still at the Capitol. We just sat down for a few minutes. I'm checking my phone, kind of, catching our breath, and we were going to go back at it. I get a text from our county trapper. He goes, Bill, I can't be there tomorrow. And I'm going, Rod, we need you there to answer these questions. So I text him back. I go, why? He goes, I just got a lethal depredation permit issued by the Department of Fish and Wildlife to go out tomorrow morning and kill a cat that has been a chronic problem on livestock.
Mhm.
So think of this. I mean, the reason he's not at the hearing to answer questions about what really happens on the ground when you're pursuing cats with hounds is because he's got to go out and kill a mountain lion. And that's the truth of what happened that day, right? So it's like when we say Senate Bill 818 was intended to save mountain lions by getting them out of trouble before they get into trouble, right?
Absolutely.
That's exactly what this bill would have done. And they took that tool away from us.
You brought up an interesting point, Bill, about our trapper and being at this hearing. He had the answers and he can educate the people that need to be educated. And seeing this, it's going to come back again. That we need to do a better job of informing, organizing, and educating. And instead of having, our trapper there to answer these questions of these people, I would love it if we could have these people come out that are making this, that are going to be making these decisions that are going to affect El Dorado County and the safety of our communities and our citizens and our schools that mountain lions are showing up on campus. If they would actually come out and witness for themselves what a tree and free program looks like, what a hazing program looks like, what a mountain lion kill looks like. When a mountain lion, we had one here a couple months ago, we had to get a kill permit on that had jumped in a goat pen and killed 16 goats one evening on one night out in Georgetown, the Georgetown area of our county, which was right across the street from Golden Sierra High School. So it's to come out and witness firsthand and educate themselves so they can make a better educated decision on the things that are affecting our county and our public safety.
Absolutely right, Jeff. That's exactly what we need to do. We've done that, by the way, with the Fish and Game Commission when we were working on regulations dealing with what you could and could not do when it comes to running hounds. And so
Now,
we
mind you, Bill, you can confirm this because I was in a meeting with Fish and Wildlife in my office when we were kind of at the boiling point with all of this after the attack on Taylen and Wyatt. And I had mentioned a tree and free program. And when I did, I had members of the Department of Fish and Wildlife that raised their hands up in the air and said, absolutely, we would love to be a part of this with you. We would love to do this in El Dorado County as a test program to see if it works. So this bill that was pushed forward by Senator Alvarado-Gil had the support of the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And I'll give a little bit of kudos. They've been, since we've been working with them, they've been a lot more responsive to answering their phones and the needs, the critical specific needs that we have here in El Dorado County when it comes to mountain lions.
Yeah, their director has admitted that El Dorado County is different. Right?
Yes.
I mean, it's not like any of the other rural counties in California. He actually, as you know, Jeff, you were there. He stood in front of our board of supervisors back in October of last year and said that he supports proactive hazing.
Yes.
But we have one county trapper in El Dorado County is responsible for more than just El Dorado County. And so when you've got numerous nuisance mountain lions, you're going to need more than one, experienced houndsman running those cats if you're really going to have a proactive impact on them, if you will. And that was the goal of 818, was to get our county trapper some help on this stuff, right? I mean, and to truly let him do the proactive hazing, not after a goat's been, killed or whatever, to get out there just when there's a cat spotted in an area it shouldn't be, run that cat out of that area. Right? No harm nor foul. Cat goes up a tree, goes, oh boy, I don't like that experience. I ain't going to do that again. And he goes somewhere else next time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the goal. Now, there is a study going on. Utah State's doing a study right now. It's in El Dorado County and 6 other counties, as you probably know, right? That's going to look at a variety of deterrents for trying to protect livestock from mountain lions. Hazing with dogs is one of them, but that study is going to be over in December of this year, right? I mean, there was some arguments from the dais when Senate Bill 818 was being heard. Well, it's going to overlap with this study. They're already doing it. No, it wouldn't have overlapped with the study. I mean, Senate Bill 818, had it been passed, the language that we wrote would have started January 1 of 2027, right? The current Utah State study is over in December of this year. So there was absolutely no overlap, and they're looking at a variety of different deterrents. It would have done very little in El Dorado County when it came to proactive hazing because they just don't have the manpower to do that, especially when they're spreading themselves out over 7 counties.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you take our county trapper. When I talked to him, he said, Sheriff, I could run cats every day in El Dorado County, but he doesn't have the dogs, the amount of dogs that would be able to sustain that. He has to go out and purchase dogs. He told me the other day, he said, he's getting ready to go to Colorado because he gets this specific breed of hound dog. And these dogs aren't cheap, and he's got to train them. And these dogs are running. He went after a lion 2 weeks ago, I think it was, where he's running down to the bottom of a specific canyon. That's about a mile down, straight down. And he had to do that 3 days in a row, that he would get on this problem lion, and it took him right to the bottom of this canyon. And he would get down there, and the dogs would lose the scent, and he would have to hike them all out of there. 3 days, he said it like to kill them. So, I mean, this is a special skill set that these houndsmen have and these dogs have. And it is time tested. It's been done for years and years and years upon years, that this is the only other apex predator that's there to combat the apex predator, and that the lion is afraid of. The tool that we want to use in this hazing is to get them out of the populated areas where humans are living.
Right. And to reinstill that fear in them of humans and dogs where they don't come back. I can promise you, Jeff, and I've said this to you before, that how that cat that killed Taylen been hazed with the books, because that cat had been in trouble before then, been in trouble a couple of times, right? Had that cat been hazed by dogs, he never would have approached Taylen and Wyatt. So that's why getting these safety tools, if you will, in place is critical for the safety of El Dorado County. And for those people that are going, oh, well, gee, it's not proven. We have no science that says that pursuing mountain lions with dogs does this and does that, blah, blah. We've got the science. We looked into this in painful detail to make sure this was the right thing to do. And the other thing was, as you mentioned, this was an El Dorado County only study. 5-year study. Let's do this for 5 years and let's see what happens. So those people that are out there saying that it doesn't work, well, then you should be supporting this bill, because we're going to find out if it really does work. We know it does. We've seen it studied in other states. But for those people that are still out there questioning whether or not it works, that was one of the points of this bill, was to study the efficacy of pursuing mountain lions with dogs and the impact it has on livestock and human encounters. So here's where we're at, Jeff. As you know, you and I talked about this. Senate Bill 818 is dead. It's gone, right? I mean, we're going to sit down with Senator Alvarado-Gil and the family here, probably in the next 6 weeks or so. And we're going to put our heads together and determine what the legislation will look like for next year. It may be just like 818, it may not, right? But we're going to look at what that legislation looks like for next year. And then when January rolls around and the 2026 session starts, then we'll go ahead and introduce that bill. And we're going to do this all over again, Jeff. And like you said, we're going to learn from some of our mistakes, if you will. I mean, we're going to do everything we can to get legislators, those are going to be voting on the bill, to get them in the field, get them on a hound pursuit. When they're voting, they're making an informed decision, right? The other thing is, I was really disappointed. We've got 20,000 people on the Facebook page that's tracking mountain lion sightings in El Dorado County. The day of the hearing, I was expecting to get at least 200-300 people down there. We got like 30. We even set up transportation. So they didn't have
Yes.
to drive down there by themselves. We
Yes.
were going to shuttle them down there, give them a free ride there and a free ride back, drop them off at the States of the Capitol. And just a really weak turnout. We've got to change that, Jeff. In
Yeah.
addition to educating the lawmakers, they have got to hear the voices of El Dorado County public that are living this nightmare day in and day. People need to take a day off. We'll get them there, but next year when this bill comes up to be heard, we got to make sure that that Capitol is absolutely packed with people that have skin in this game.
The more people that we could assimilate and organize and put down there to come in, and when you walk in and they see the whites of your eyes, so to speak, they're going to listen a little bit more intently, and maybe not be more susceptible to accepting the view of a special interest group. But I think, on our part, we'll take some of the blame too. We organized the best we could. I take my hat off, and I want to thank Jeff Thompson for Thompson's Toyota, Thompson's GMC, for providing vans for the folks here in El Dorado County to get them down there so they didn't have to pay for parking, and then brought them back. We'll do a better job on our end of getting the date out and marketing when we're going down there, and what it means to go down there and have your voice heard and to be seen.
Let me do a shout out, another one to Senator Alvarado-Gil. She's done a great job of representing the people of El Dorado County. It's through absolutely no fault of her own that this bill got stuck the way it did. We've got a whole new game plan for pushing this bill through next year, and I'm looking forward to working with you on that. We learned some lessons this year, Jeff. I mean, that just for what it's going to take to navigate this bill through the system. Not an easy bill to pass. It's going to require a 4/5 vote on the floor, which is almost unheard of, right? But it's incumbent upon us to do everything possible in our power to get this bill passed and get it in place. Well, Jeff, you got anything else you want to add before we close out?
Yeah, I just like to always, we talk about Taylen and Wyatt and the Brooks family. It's always, keeping those boys' names in our conversation, and honor Taylen and the Brooks family and Wyatt, because they have to walk this walk every day, and it's something that could have been easily avoided and shouldn't have happened. Always honoring them, and we need more of us here in El Dorado County, especially to continue to fight the fight for Taylen and Wyatt, the Brooks family. So that's something that I'm committed to doing, and why we need to keep this conversation rolling and not let it slip by, not let it die. We need to continue to educate the community. We need to continue to educate those that maybe have an opposition to our stance on this. And maybe we can find some common ground, and maybe they'll see the whole safety aspect of this, and when it comes to protecting the community and our citizens. So
Absolutely, I agree with everything you just said, Jeff. Well, Jeff, thank you for your time today. I know just how busy you are. You got a lot of things on your plate as Sheriff of El Dorado County. We will certainly be staying in touch and continue to work with you on educating the El Dorado County public on what's going on the legislative front when it comes to Lions in the county.
absolutely, it's an honor, my friend, and always there for you.